Good afternoon everyone and welcome to today's session on strengthening your business. My name's Yvette Adams and I'm very proud to be delivering this webinar today on behalf of the Queensland Government's Department of Employment, Economic Development and Innovation. They're otherwise known as DD. As you know, you've signed up to hear about strengthening your business. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. This is what we've got in store for you guys today. We're just going to do a little quick intro and an orientation of how to make the most of today's session. I do see quite a few names on the list today that I don't recognise, so perhaps this is your first time with us, maybe even your first webinar. On that note, let's have a quick look at this technology, and if you could raise your hand if this is indeed your first time on a DD webinar. Now how you do that is you may need to click on the red arrow you should see, which should expand your menu, and once you've done that you should have the option to click in a column where there's a hand. So if you can hear me, raise your hand now and let me know if it's your first time doing a webinar or not. So it's Nicole's first one, Genevieve's, welcome. Special welcome to you guys. Boone, Tony, Yolanda. I thought so. Yeah, a lot of names there that I wasn't familiar with. Well, very much thanks for getting on today, and there's still more hands going up. You've just learnt your first function of webinars. Now, this is not school. I want you to interact with me. So I'd very much like it if you could, if I ask you yes or no, or does this apply to you, to raise your hand. And here's another little tip. When you've indicated and we've completed that phase, please click on the hand again to put it down. So everyone who's already got their hand up right now could put it down, that'd be great. No, we haven't got anybody stuck. Right, another quick orientation thing is that if you have any dramas, feel free to text chat us or call us in the office where we have a facilitator called Jag on standby to assist you with anything. So if you can't hear us or whatever, you can't see the screen, please do let us know. Okay, now, as part of this webinar, there's actually a workbook, and when you signed up, you should have received a series of emails. Now, if you're anything like me, you may have been busy and you may have not read those emails word for word. But I want you to know that there is a link provided in those emails where you can go and download a very comprehensive Strengthening Your Business workbook, which I'd strongly encourage you to do if you haven't done already, so that you can get the most out of today's session. I will refer to the workbook. It's not essential that you've reviewed it before you do this webinar. There are exercises in it that will enhance your learning if you do take the time to go and do it after the webinar. So there's a quick action point for all of you. Write that down to make sure you download the workbook and work through it. Finally, at the end of today, we're going to just review some items, and then there will be time for questions at the end. So if you could just hold your questions until the end, that would be good. Although do feel free to text chat me anytime if you'd like to comment more than raising your hand, to say that applies to me, that's a great idea, we already do this, or contribute in any other way. We'd love your feedback, and if I can, I will read those out throughout the presentation. Okay, that's a picture of me, and my name's Yvette Adams. You can see on the screen that I'm an award-winning business owner. 2010, or last year, was a particularly good win for me. I've won 3 business awards. Both locally at the Sunshine Coast Business Awards. I won my category in the creative industries one against 25 other businesses. I also was successful winning the home-based business. So hands up, who of you out there today is actually a home-based business? Does anyone else out there know what that's like? Yep, Genevieve and Sean, Jody, Jane, great. Well, thanks for getting on. Isn't it great? You don't have to even leave home and you can be doing training. Well, look, I was a home-based business until May this year. I've now moved into premises in Maroochydore, Sunshine Coast, which is where I'm based. But also another award I was fortunate enough to win was actually a Telstra Businesswomen's Awards, which was certainly the highlight of my career to date. I won the Commonwealth Bank Business Owner category. You can see on the screen I've started 4 businesses, so I like to tell people I'm a serial entrepreneur. I really like starting businesses, and I really like helping other people to start businesses and to use particularly online technology to make things work for them. As you can see, my main focus is now being the owner, director and franchisor of the Creative Collective. Now the Creative Collective is a creative agency, and what that means is we make websites, we do graphic design, we do social media, lots of online marketing, SEO, PR, but we also do a fair bit of training these days, and we really particularly love online training because it's just so lifestyle friendly. You can see there we've worked with everyone from startups right through to small businesses and large businesses, and even some internationally. Now I'm a mum of a 4-year-old. I'm freaking out about her going to school next year actually, and a 7-year-old. He's 8 and 2 weeks, which he keeps reminding me. How many of you out there are doing the juggle of being a parent and running a business? Usually quite a few hands go up on there. It is quite a juggle, isn't it? It's yeah, there's always a lot to do, but it is possible is what my message is. And I'm really pleased to have you on today to help you with what I can, because I really do love training. Now this whole topic is really about strengthening your business, because the fact is the economy is still quite tough out there. Some industries and some locations are doing very well, and in Queensland we're very fortunate that we've got a mining boom going on, which is certainly keeping our economy quite buoyant. But I think you're all very sensible and should be commended for getting on today, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with, even when business is going well, to be looking at it and looking at ways to strengthen it. Now this time of year is a particularly good time of year to be looking at this stuff, you know, where some people wind down when it comes to Christmas. But it's good planning time, because if you want to make sure 2012 goes well, then you should be planting the seeds now. So good on you for getting on. I myself do think next year could potentially be quite tough in business again, sorry to say, just given what's happening globally. But there's always microeconomies going on in certain locations and industries, and I'm a big believer that if you take good planning measures, good managerial measures, you can certainly have a successful business in any economy. Now the first step in strengthening your business is identifying your elevator pitch. Hands up if you've heard of an elevator pitch before. Not so many of you. Well, it is a bit of an American concept, but basically, like this picture, let's say I was to bump into you in an elevator and we got talking, and in that short lift ride I was to ask you, what is it that your business does? Every business owner needs to be in a position, and in fact all their staff too, to quickly and effectively communicate what their business is and what they do. So did you notice that when I said I had the Creative Collective and I said it's a creative agency, I didn't stop there, because I'm not going to presume that you know what that is or means. I then proceeded to list some of the types of services that we have. And in fact, if I'd done it even better, I probably would have added on the end, we help business owners achieve online success, because that really does sum up what we do. So an elevator pitch, as you can see on the screen, is to share information and to give an objective opinion about your business. So would anybody like to share their elevator pitch now that you know what one is? Put your hand up and I might unmute you. You can quickly share what yours is. This is a really good opportunity for you to have a plug of your business. Anyone want to put their hands up? Jane's got hers up, but it's been up a while, so I'm not sure. You guys are a bit shy, right? It's your first time. Sometimes we get people clambering over themselves. Well, Jane, your hand's still up, so I'm going to see if you're ready to have a chat. Jane, are you there? Jane, can you hear me? Hello, Jane. You're live. Nope, she's put her hand down. She's shy, all right. Is there no other takers who want to give us an elevator pitch? Come on, guys. Tony, good on you. He's got his hand up. Hello, Tony.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, really good, thanks. Where have you logged in from today, Tony?
I'm the retail development manager for Anderson's Floor Coverings in Queensland. We've got about 50 stores and I help them improve their business.
Very good. So I presume in that role you would have heard of elevator pitches. What's your one?
We're only just yeah, we're the sort of business that have done very well for many years, and we're just starting to embrace, I guess, some new concepts and whatnot. But I'll give you one off the cuff, and you can tell me what you think. I think our elevator pitch would be: we're Anderson's Floor Coverings. We've been the respected name in floor coverings for over 50 years here in Queensland. We do carpet, vinyl, timber, you name it. From a flooring perspective, we look after it. We not only offer value for money, but we also get the job done right the first time. Our reputation is second to none, and we offer a 30-day, no questions asked replacement policy. So the ease of buying through us, or the confidence of buying through us, it should be pretty high.
That's a pretty good elevator pitch, Tony. And just a bit of a feedback for everyone. I suggest you get an elevator pitch of about 30 seconds down, because if you think of a lift ride, that's about how long you've got. And it's actually amazing when you become conscious of this, how frequently you'll use it. It may not be in an elevator, it might be at a networking thing, might be at a barbecue, it comes up that you've got something in common, you're both in business, and it's an opportunity to give your elevator pitch. So thanks for sharing that, Tony. I don't have too much constructive criticism on that at all. I think it's pretty good.
I was about to say, is there something that we should do, that I should be doing differently? I mean, I've been used to value statements and various other things from other roles, and I'm trying to get this elevator pitch concept into our stores, and if you have got anything constructive, I'd welcome it.
I really liked how you inserted in there the guarantee. I think that's good. Competitive advantage is good. I think your reputation is second to none. That's something I'd perhaps leave out, because I think that's sort of opinion-based, and you'd probably let the person decide that. Sure. But I do think you're on the right track thinking about getting this into stores, and it will be a challenge to get your staff to take it on board and to regurgitate it just as good as you. So really refine it and put some measures into place, whether it's communicating it at the staff meeting, whether it's putting it up on somewhere visual, getting them to practice it at opportune moments, and getting them to have input.
Yeah, I think
maybe one of them has got a great way of saying it that you hadn't even thought of.
Yeah, I think I'd replace second to none with our reputation's been established over 50 years of having thousands of happy customers, and just probably leave it at that, something like that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I think that sounds okay. And yeah, I'd love to have more time to probably workshop it with you, but we've got a few slides to go through. But if we have time at the end, maybe we can have a look
Sure.
at that. But thanks so much for sharing. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's move on from the elevator pitch. So action point 2, 1 was get the workbook, 2 is work on your elevator pitch if you don't already have one. Now second, to strengthen your business. This might sound like basic stuff, but it's so important. And as we grow in business and get busy, we can sometimes lose focus of the really simple but really important stuff. And this concept is, what does your customer actually want? So you need to understand that and anticipate change rather than react to it. Now there's plenty of businesses out there that are really struggling with this. Technology would be one change that's having a massive impact in a lot of industries. And some people haven't anticipated that, and they haven't been able to move with it. One industry which comes to mind for me is the music industry. I mean, we had downloadable music. They didn't anticipate that. They haven't really moved with the times, and as a result, they're still struggling with it to this day. You need to know intimately what your customer needs, and because they will help you keep up to date, and you need to address those needs. So do you think you guys know intimately what your customer needs right now? Put up your hand if you think you do. Because there's a big difference between knowing that and between just giving them what you think they want or what you've decided is a good offer, good service, good product, good price point, etc. The customer, as you can see, sits there in the middle, and your strategy really should envelop around, oops, that was not meant to happen, around the customer. You then need policies, people and systems in place. With those things in place, good ones, you'll have a really good, strong business. We're going to take a look at those some more over the course of the presentation today. Now this is a very elaborate slide. It looks like a bit of an octopus, but it's called a trend blend map. And this can help you understand what trends might apply to your industry. Because the fact is, the only constant thing is change. And that could never have been more true in the world we're living in right now. Now you can see on this, there's some positive changes and there's some negative ones. So I want you all to look on that screen. Hopefully the text is not too small for you. And find a strand of one of the trends that's happening right now that is affecting your business. And I want you to text chat that to me. So under that part where there's the red bar, make sure that's expanded, and you should be able to see an area where you can just drop me a little thing. So if you could drop me, like for instance, I can see on there obesity. Well, if I was a personal trainer in the fitness industry, that would be a trend that would be affecting my business in a positive way. So just type me a little message here and we'll read out some of them as we go. Could be a positive impact, could be a negative impact, but which one on there is affecting your business? Okay, Yolanda has got debt. Nicole's saying skill shortage. Thanks for your contribution, guys. Yolanda, I'm curious, is debt a positive trend or a negative trend for your business? Home cooked meals is influencing me in a positive way, Genevieve says. Can't read it, maybe your laptop's too small, says Tony. Could well be, it is quite small text, so I apologise for that. And Yolanda said it's dual-layered, so it can be positive and negative. Isn't that interesting? Well, this, there's some interesting exercises around this concept inside the workbook, so once again I do encourage you to go and have a look at that. The economy and skills shortage is impacting on Tony as well. Okay, good to know, guys. Another thing I want you guys to think about is which type of company are you? So you can complete this exercise in the workbook. The spreadsheet in there looks a little like this, where you can look at one of the trends, could be society, technology, economy, environment, etc. And you can sometimes see sub-trends. So for instance, let's say I sell group alarm systems, as you can see on there. You could see the sub-trend in society is people aren't so trusting, safety is an issue maybe, perhaps in big cities, so therefore there's more gated communities being opened or developed. So therefore, is there an opportunity for you as an alarm system person to collaborate with developers, find out more about gated communities, plan for areas, etc. So these can help you anticipate the change. This is why I'm explaining this stuff to you. Rather than react to it after it's already happened and you've missed the boat, we're only getting small bites of the cherry, get in there early. Now this slide is a really important one. It can actually make a very big impact on your bottom line. I actually encourage you to print it out and put it up somewhere prominent in your office. Because if you can keep an eye on this, even when you do get bogged down and busy, your business can be strengthened and improved quite dramatically. So, the way to generate more revenue. Hands up if you would like to generate more revenue for your company. Usually this is a sea of hands. I mean, who wouldn't? Come on, everyone. Some of you who are good asleep, how about a hand up? Good on you. Okay. Well, the way to generate more revenue can really be made this simple. If you get more prospects coming in and you increase the conversion rate, you'll therefore have more new customers. And if you also retain more existing customers, you'll then have a bigger customer base. You then have to just simply improve the frequency at which you're selling. So if you're only selling monthly, can you sell bi-weekly or weekly to these customers? Then the size of the order. You know, supermarkets and places like takeaway joints are great at this because they're always asking, do you want fries with that? Or at the supermarket counter, there's always these low priced but very tempting things. I was in a supermarket this week and there was some anti-age cream and I thought that's a good one because there's so many females who sit here and probably in their mind and having these little conversations in their head, they're worried about their age and their skin and things like that. And it was, I noticed $20, so I was thinking, gosh, that's a good upsell if people are actually throwing that in the trolley, even though they've made it around the whole supermarket without buying it. Finally, you've got the price. So of course you can increase your prices, but that's always quite a tricky one. If you are getting increased prices passed on from your suppliers and general business operations, which many businesses today are, then you often need to pass them on. But sometimes you might price yourself out of the market and therefore you might have to review what effect that would have. You might rather need to look at the frequency, the size, getting more prospects in or conversion rates. Now if you look at some of the other webinars we've run, we actually put in dark blue some of the other squares, and so this is really all about strengthening your business, considering those particularly dark squares, they're the ones that you want to be having a look at. So if I was to say retaining your customers, you need to retain more, well, let's discuss that a little bit more. Did you know that acquiring new customers can cost 5 to 10 times more than satisfying and retaining current customers? You know, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that come to our company and say, I need to market more, I need more people to know about my business. And there's plenty of companies out there who will actually just take that business on and say, sure, we'll spend your money, we'll market you more. But I always ask them hard questions like, how big a database do you already have? How many active customers do you already have? Do you have a CRM or a client relationship manager? And when was the last time you contacted them, or do you have any systems in place to recontact them? Because I'll tell you what, it will cost you a lot less money to go through those sorts of procedures than it will to market more, and it will generally return better too, because people who have already inquired with you once are a lot warmer lead than a brand new one coming in. You can see there, just little changes can actually make a huge difference, like a 5% reduction in losing customers could even increase your profits by 25 to 85%. And the average company, if you've wondered, am I doing okay in this area? I don't know. Do you know the average company does lose 10 to 30% of its customers each year? Do you know what your retention rate is? Tell me if you do know, and tell me what the percentage is. If you don't know, that's another action point. You need to analyse, and it's a good time to do it, looking at your client list this year and your client list last year. If you've got the facilities in place to do this, how many have you lost? What percentage have you kept? And what could be perhaps your target for next year? Another thing to think about is what strategies can you put in place to retain your profitable customers. So something we've been working on as a company lately is, one, we've actually surveyed our existing customers and we've asked them what they've thought of our performance on everything, from communication to whether we delivered on time and on budget, and it's been a really interesting exercise. We've also been looking at customers that we could get an upsell from, that we've done some service from but not enough with. So it's a lot of database cleansing and canvassing, and it is a lot of work, but gee, it produces good results. We've also been getting in some of our customers and inviting them for a simple morning tea or a few drinks on a Friday, because we've now got premises. I mean, there's an opportunity just to do some Christmas drinks. You know, we've found that every morning tea we've had, I've actually have someone say to us, gee, I need to do some of your training, or gee, I need a new website. So it's more than paid for itself in time and money. Has anyone else got any strategies that they use to retain profitable customers that they'd like to share? Perhaps they could put their hand up if they do. Yolanda's got her hand up. Yolanda, do you have a strategy to share? Are you there, Yolanda? You will need mics, guys, and they'll just need to be correctly installed for us to hear you. So if it's not coming through, that might be why. What about Paul Ramirez? It's hard to tell if he's actually there. You've got your hand up, Paul. I can't seem to unmute him. He's gone offline. Anyone else like to share a retention strategy? Okay, Yolanda has said we use a VIP card. Very, very good. And they also use discounted interest rates. Well, they're really good retention strategies. Good one. I like that very much. Okay, now once again, this might seem like a basic consideration, but you need to consider your product or service lines, because what may have sold well once may not sell well now. Now I'm guessing for someone like Tony, he was talking about being in the flooring game. Now I don't know about you, but I grew up in the 70s and 80s and lino was a big thing. Now I don't know, I could be wrong, maybe lino's still in vogue, but of what I've seen in my world, tiling is certainly popular in Queensland, and so is wooden flooring. So perhaps his service line of lino may have changed over the years, or perhaps lino's making a big comeback. But you know, you need, Tony's just told me it's all about shag pile. Well, there you go. So who would have thought maybe that 70s shag pile would make a big comeback? He's now saying laugh out loud. You know, great example. Really look at your product or services. I was doing this yesterday with my accountant actually, and working out, are they profitable? Could they be profitable? Are they likely to grow? And do they form part of the strategy plan for your business? Because I tell you what, when I started in business, it was all about service. I was not providing training. But over time, I found there was sometimes such a lack of education that I needed to provide the education first, that they realised the need for the service. And if you're in a service-based industry, there could be merit in considering that for you as well. It also diversified my revenue streams, and that meant that I was able to not rely on such a limited amount of revenue streams. And that's another point I'd like to make. Yolanda's agreed with me that that's a good point, thank you, is that in these tough times, you don't want to be reliant on just one product line or one service line, because if something happens, let's say with the supplier, or you know, something happens where that service just isn't popular anymore, it's quite nice to be able to bounce onto something else. Kerry's made the comment that Anderson's now sells blinds and shutters in a number of their stores. Good point. So they've obviously diversified, not just the flooring, but the blinds and the shutters as well. Why not? That makes complete sense. It's a complementary product. I want you to really think about, and here's an action point, when you actually looked at your product or service lines last, and to make that an action point, to actually do that analytically and think about the year ahead and what might be profitable, what might be likely to grow, what you might need to change, what new stuff you might need to bring in. Okay, hands up if you've heard of the 80-20 rule. Put your hands up. Okay, quite a few of you. For those of you who haven't, it's that 20% of your customer purchases will provide 80% of your business. Now, this might seem outrageous, but I'll tell you what, time and time again, it's been proved in businesses absolutely true. So, how do you get the maximum return from the customers you do have? Well, one strategy is actually to go through a classification exercise. We tend to do this once a year. Now, it will really depend on your business and what you're selling as to whether you how often you do this. Now, our way of classifying customers is A equals awesome. These usually are customers who pay you the most money, who are nice to deal with, who appreciate the work, and are raving fans that go around telling everyone about how great you are. So if you were to think of your whole client list, what percentage of them would be A-class customers? And, you know, is it an action point to go through and categorize them as such? Maybe they're VIPs, and like Yolanda suggested, give them a VIP card. Maybe give them 10% off every time they visit your store. Maybe give them the first dibs on PR opportunities or options to come to events you're running or whatever it might be. Now, we then categorise B-class clients as still important people. They spend money with us, but they don't spend as much money as the A-class ones. We might not get as much frequency from them. They're okay, but they don't refer. They might be just a bit more of a passive customer. And then finally, you've got a C customer, which could be deemed casual, who might just come in for one purchase, and that's it. That's the last you hear from them. Often they will be the ones who take the most of your time, so you have to be very careful of them. They've often got low budgets. Is that ringing any alarm bells for anyone? They've certainly got customers like that, and they really need to think about how they can change that switch of spending so much time on them. You know, to be completely blunt, you can also call Cs those that you wish to cull. And usually once a year, we will have a list of customers that we've just found are difficult to work with, aren't appreciating our work, have such low budgets it's hard to get the results they need. And we may come up with strategies to cull them. Now, those strategies are always interesting ones, but some strategies we've come up with are to increase the prices on them, suggest that they deal with other people who might suit their budget or their style more. And sometimes, you know what, it's amazing how the universe just takes care of it, because I've even been known to put someone on a list and they then get in touch and have actually taken no action at all. So isn't that interesting? Okay, marketing is a big one for strengthening your business, and it's something you need to do repeatedly. The thing is, you don't just want to shout out there and try and get new business. The really important part of marketing is actually testing it, measuring it, refining it, and repeating it if you want to get it right. I can tell you that online marketing tends to be more measurable, and I do think there's been a bit of a change in mindset on that. Once upon a time, I'd bang on about that, and businesses still didn't get it. They still wanted to stick with their TV ads and their radio ads and their magazine ads and their yellow pages and some very expensive advertising strategies, because that's what they've always done. Nowadays, a lot of business owners have woken up and they are starting to at least diversify. Now, I'm certainly not telling you to pull all your display advertising on those sorts of networks that I've just named, but I do want you to test whether it's working, and that's a very important action point. Now, if it's online to see if it's working, you can certainly do that through things like Google Analytics, which is a free statistical tool from Google. But if it's offline, you really need to get some strategies in place, whether it's logging every incoming inquiry, an email, and that could be in an actual CRM, or it could be doing a little line and even, you know, line, 4 lines and a line through 5, and then adding it up at the end of the week. Because you need to be able to measure that and report on it monthly and ask them actually where the inquiry is coming from. I'm always asking my team when they say I've got a new lead, how did they hear about us? And if they ever say I forgot to ask, they know really well that they've got to do it next time. Jodie's asked, where are we in the activity book? Jody, we're not following the activity book from page for page. This is just a quick overview. The activity book is more as a reference guide that you need to use to go through exercises to further enhance your learning. Tony has also made the comment, most of our customers are account customers, so we use A to D, i.e. fast payer or slow payer. Well, that's a good way to customize them all right on how fast they pay, because the slow payers, geez, we just really can't carry them, you know. No businesses are charity cases, are they? Curie's saying, does this work with spot testing, say listing all the inquiries and results over a week each month? Yes, it certainly does. I would list all the inquiries over a week and tally them up each month and report on them. Depends on how dynamic of an environment you operate in. Denise is asking how to get the activity book. You can get that from, I'll let you know at the end of the presentation, so I'll remind you, okay? We'll deal with that. So let's just get back to the topics for now. So here's an action point though. Get some things into place, be it Google Analytics for online tracking or a simple pad. I've even known business owners to create sort of initial inquiry pads that they have by the phone, and they make sure that anyone answering that phone, if it's about business, that they know how to complete that even if they're not there. So please do get some measures in place to measure your marketing. All right, pricing is another place where you can strengthen your business, and there's lots of different ways to price a product. Let me just take you through some of them, and these are really textbook marketing scenarios. There's cost plus, where you add on a percentage of the cost of the product to determine a selling price. So you take whatever it is to get, and I mean a typical markup for a retail environment would be something like 100%. There's certainly examples of retail though where they're a lot higher. I believe coffee, just a cup of coffee, did you know, is about a 400% markup in price. So some you can get away with a lot more, but of course it's a low amount as well. Market-based pricing, where you have to be determined by the market. Now, I do feel like there is a lot going on in markets right now. They're changing fast, as we're talking about, and in lots of ways businesses are being dictated to by the market. If the market can't afford a product or service, it has to be lowered. You know, gym memberships, we're seeing the come and go type gym scenarios 24/7 at a very low rate opening up now. Well, I think the market's telling them that that's the price they want to pay for fitness. They don't want to be, you know, locked into expensive contracts, and they want to come and go, and they want easy access. So that's a good model for a business that is moving with the times. There's also price skimming, where you set the selling price high and sacrifice a number of sales for a high profit. So this is good if you've got a luxury type item, very high profile brand, very big marketing budget. So certainly some companies can afford to do that. You know, the likes of, say, Gucci or Versace or some of these high-end brands, they set the prices really high. They're not going for high volume of sales. They're going for just a few, but they've got a high profit on those. Of course, they've then had issues of copies and things afterwards, but that's what the skimming pricing model is. You've also got a penetration pricing. This is quite a popular one, where people set the selling price really low. Sometimes it's break even, sometimes it actually is at a loss, just to get the customers in the door. And once they've got them, it's all about getting them to upsell from there and become a long-term paying client. I mean, your phone sort of contracts is a good example of that. Often they're just covering it, but they're going to make money off you making calls, buying accessories, or they'll certainly get the money back over the course of the hire, if you like, or because you're paying down every month. Tony's asked, what do you do when the competitors slash their margin to win the deal? She's talking about tractor sales, or customers go down the road for 2 cents price and difference. Well, we see this in petrol stations, Tony, don't we? Where, you know, one petrol station changes their price 2 cents and the others are keeping a very careful eye on it and putting it down to equal that price. So that's one strategy. The other strategy is to value add. So can you offer better service than, say, the other guys down the road? Can you give them something extra that really doesn't cost you a lot to give? A free drink or something, a coffee. Maybe you have a percolator there and you have free coffee going, because I don't know about you, but often if I'm filling up in the morning, I wouldn't mind a free cup of coffee as well. Could you offer the actual service where you're actually, you know, filling it up for them, for example? There's all sorts of scenarios. Kerry's added our 30-day replacement on carpet. That might be a scenario she's offering. But you're right, it can get really tough, Tony, when competitors slash their margins. You know, sometimes they slash so much it's just no longer viable for you to compete with. And certainly in, say, the electronics world, you know, your Harvey Normans, your Joyce Mains, and so on, they just keep slashing down, down, down until there's not very much left in it at all. So it's a pretty tough market to be in, I think. Let's move on and look at some other ways you can strengthen your business, and that is distribution. Now, all of you as business owners have an amazing opportunity sitting in front of you right now. I wonder if any of you know what it is. Tell me, in terms of distribution, what is the big opportunity that every business owner has? Kerry said email. You're close. Kerry said internet. That's exactly what I'm on about, Kerry. Online. You know, you guys can distribute to anywhere in the world, depending on what you sell now. So what I would seriously be encouraging is if you can have an online sales place, you do. This is no longer time for thinking we might get around to that. We'll see what it does. I can tell you very much people are getting very comfortable with online retail, and if you're not there, there'll be a competitor who is. Do you know, I know a scenario, a local one, of shoes where people are now going to the shop here locally on the Sunshine Coast, trying on the shoes, and then always buying online, to the point where the shop is now charging for try-ons $25 to try on shoes because they just can't compete with the prices. So that's a big threat to you if you're a shoe shop, for instance. Now, if you're not actually physically selling products, you need to think about ways to still get your business online, to get people's attention, to make it as easy as possible to interact, transact, decide whether to deal with you. For instance, if you're a hotel, you know, offering the ability to search availability and book and pay online. If you're a tradie, same thing, you know, when are you available as a landscaper to come out and quote for me? I want to see that on your website. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I do a lot of my research late at night. Often 11 o'clock at night is when I'm booking tradies and researching who's a good company to come and do something for me. Now, I'm not going to ring you at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm going to check your website, maybe Facebook page. So you're missing out on a big market there. There's plenty of other people like me. I realise not everybody is, but it's certainly a sort of way it's going, and you guys need to be aware of this. So think about how you distribute your product. What is the reach of your product? What's the cost of distributing your product? What forms of product bundling could you do? And what can you do to improve this? So, you know, guys, are you happy with your current distribution channels? Could you be looking into new ones? I mean, there's some very left field distribution things too. I heard a guy recently talking about how he is packaging up, he calls it cow candy, basically it's sugar cane. And he's found a market over in Asia for this. And in terms of distribution, that could be a very expensive thing to get all the way over there because, you know, I'm talking big bundles of sugar cane. But what he's actually found was that there were a lot of ships coming into Australia from Asia, then leaving and returning empty. So it actually costs them more to get the sugar cane from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane than it does by ship from Brisbane to South Korea. Isn't that interesting? So my point there is sometimes distribution channels don't have to be as difficult or as expensive as they may initially seem. Do some research and find out what innovative options you might be able to come up with. Okay, strategy is a really important part of improving your business, and really a lot of the stuff we're talking today about is about strategy. So here's some big questions to ask yourself, and these are certainly in the workbook too. Where are we now as a company? Where do we want to go? And how will we get there? It's that simple. I mean, strategy sounds like a big word, and you can pay a lot of money for a strategy or a strategic consultant and so on. But just considering those questions and asking them of your partner if they're involved in your business, or your staff if you have them, is a good way to get a strategy. And every business should have really a strategic plan, a marketing plan, and a business plan, because they're forming your strategy. Now, they will change over time, especially in a dynamic, ever-changing business environment like we're talking about. But if you can give them some consideration, you'll be in a much stronger position in business. All right, growth strategies. How many, hands up, of you would like to grow your business? Anyone? Hands up if you do. I would have thought a lot of you. Great. Well, some of you are just consolidating. Maybe you've been around for a while, but thank you for those who did put your hands up. And Denise has said, yes, you guys have really got a hand of this text chat thing now. It's good to see. All right, well, with growth strategies, Growth could be bringing your existing products or services to a new market, or developing new products or services for new or existing markets. So once again, I'm going to be biased. The internet presents a huge amount of opportunities because you could tap into markets internationally or further out of your local area, regionally or nationally, which perhaps you've never been able to do before. But you need to evaluate whether it's a good thing or not by looking at transportation costs, which we've also just talked about, any regulations, whether consumers in those areas can afford them, what other suppliers are charging, price per unit, intellectual property, the total customer base. I mean, to tell you why a lot of people just try and tap into that American market, it's because it's a huge market. You know, it's something like 350 million people. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But, you know, they're big consumers as well. So if you can even crack 1% of that market, it's a pretty big market size. You can also segment the market to identify which lot you actually want to target your product or service. So it might not only be America, it might be a certain area in America, it might be parents in America, it might be parents of children aged under 7 in America to get really segmented down. You've also got to look at the competitive environment, someone's already picked up on that, local labour costs and political or other risks. But there are other markets out there. So, you know, for instance, I know a company that's recently just taken a lot of their admin from Australia to Fiji, of all places. That last point, political, other risks, there would be some risks associated with that because they have been known to have coups, but I'm sure this person who's a savvy business person would have evaluated that in making that move. Okay, strategic customer management. In the workbook, you're encouraged to allocate each of your customer groups into one of these 4 segments and then deduce the most cost-effective way of servicing them and developing retention and extension plans. So if you haven't done this, a reminder, there's another action point to go through this exercise. But, you know, let's look at each of these strategies a little bit now. So if you've got customers who are high value and low risk, what is your strategy? Well, we're suggesting here that you develop and automate customers in order to maximize the service and retention. Now, things like that you can do is you can set up, for instance, with e-marketing systems, autoresponders. Hands up if you've heard of an autoresponder. Genevieve has. Kerry, and keep your hand up if you're actually already using them. Boone is using them, good one. Tony's using them. Weber, Denise is using, good to know. Well, this is where these are really great because, you know, if customers regularly order from you, but they don't require a lot of servicing, then just to ensure the customer service is there and that you are retaining them, what you can do is set up a series of autoresponders. So let's say they order online, you can have a message that goes out upon the order being confirmed, so you don't actually have to physically send that. We also have many times with e-commerce sites set up one that goes out 7 to 10 days later as a courtesy that would say something along the lines of, thank you for your order, by now you should have received it, if for any reason you haven't, contact us. And you know what, it's amazing the number of people who respond to that saying, yes, thanks so much for asking, little Timmy loved this gift, or whatever the case may be, when actually you haven't even done it, the system has done it. How good is that? Customers are happy, you've maximised the service, and you've let them know that you're there to help if there's a problem. Sometimes you need to work out when they might run out of that product or service. Let's say you're in the business of supplying coffee for a coffee machine. You could automate that so that it goes out once a month, just saying, you know, do you require more coffee? To place your order, click here. That might increase your sales, so how good would that be? Right, next one on the list is high value but high risk. They're people you need to proactively manage, understand their buying drivers and positioning on the supply chain. So you might need project management systems in place to document all communications with them to ensure that things are going okay, to minimise the risk and ensure value and all that sort of thing. Low value and low risk, you could automate to reduce the transaction costs as well. So, you know, for instance, we have people who host websites with us, and that's one of our low value services. So we automate that by it being set up. The invoices go out automatically monthly. Follow-ups for the invoices go out automatically, so we don't have to invoice them all, remind them all, and receipt that money. And we've also got it set up that we can take that money online. So there's an example of what we do there. Also, low value or high risk, you might want to eliminate those clients or migrate them to different distribution channels. See what you can do to change things. So has that given you guys a few ideas? Put your hand up if you've got yourself thinking now. Lots of hands up. Good to hear. Okay, cash flow. Cash flow is a killer for a lot of businesses. Did you know one of the main, well, there's two main reasons why businesses go under, and I'm sure you've all heard of stats, unfortunately, recently, given the economy. One is growth issues, not growing fast enough or growing too fast, and the second one is cash flow. So, of course, we all need cash. We all then need to pay for things like raw materials and labour and so on. We then usually produce goods. Of course, a diagram for service would look a bit different. This is it in its rawest form as a product. And then finally we receipt the money and we have more cash. And so the wheel keeps turning. So you need to understand each step within your own business and understand your cash flow cycle. Again, I was talking to my accountant yesterday and we were talking about, she was asking me how long does it take on average once I bill the money to see the money, because you need to cash flow forecast that. Now, there is a lot of value in paying a professional like an accountant to help you forecast your cash flow, because everyone, we are coming up to Christmas. Now, some of you it will be bananas. If you're in tourism or retail or hospitality, maybe this is a busy period and you don't need to cash flow, you just need to keep your head above water, offer a good service and stash the cash. If that's you, that's great. If that's not you, if you're like me, you're going to wind down, you're going to have a holiday, you've got to really cash flow forecast ahead and work out how you're going to pay for wages when people are on holiday and there's no money coming in. How are you going to pay for other business expenses which stay, like leasing and things like that. Maybe some expenses won't be there. So you really need to spend some time on that, maybe some money, because it could save you in the long run. Right, strengthening your business. I'm a big believer that the people make a huge difference to your business. If you have good people in place, you'll have a strong business. So now is a really, really good time to hire good people. There's a lot of people in the market wanting jobs. Here we're not as bad as America, where they're taking on average 40 weeks to find a job, but certainly there are good candidates out there. Could be a good time to grow your business. It's also a good time to make sure, though, that you do focus on staff retention strategies. There have been some businesses who have had to put people part-time or even offer them to take time off for a period, or change their status, maybe turn into a contractor or work from home or something like that to get them through these tough economic times. The key with any changes you may make is always communicate with your staff, or even if you're not making changes, to look after them, let them know where your business is at, what their plan for them is, review them regularly, motivate them. Look, you may even need a professional in this area in the form of a HR specialist as well. In my experience, they're worth their weight in gold as well. Now, systems. A lot of people ask me how I've won the awards I have, how I've grown the business I have. And my answer would be systems and procedures in a big, big way. Right from the start of my business, I've looked for systems that are automated, that make my life easier, that make me look good, that are easy for people to use. So even someone coming into the business that's had no experience can use those systems. So for instance, we have an online estimating system, and any of our staff can raise an estimate on our phones. Yes, even on our phones and or on a computer. And we have pre-programmed prices so they can't get the estimate too wrong. Because, you know, I'd rather have, let's say, the receptionist sending out an estimate than no estimate to go out for a week because the others are too busy. There's real value in that. So think about technology that might give you a competitive advantage. Is it selling online, which we've already talked about? Is it a CRM or a customer relationship management system? All of the systems we use are actually listed on our website under technology we use, so feel free to have a look at any of those. And we do use a CRM and we love it because at any time we know what our sales pipeline is. We know if the accounts person's talked to someone about not paying their bills, and then therefore we're not going to be really proactively following them up and trying to upsell them until that issue is cleared. Any contact points, phone logs, etc., we log in there. Because just like the bank, if you've ever sat down with your local bank, you've probably noticed they've got a file on you, and they've probably got what mortgages you have and insurances and when someone's contacted you and so on. Every business should have one of these, and it will actually add huge value to your business. And some of the systems I'm talking about can be as little as $12 per month. So even if you're a small business, I hope you can afford something like that. These are the key also to growing your business, you know, because if you set up these good systems and you write good procedures of how to use these systems, you can then get work experience students in. You can get trainees, and then you can even start hiring part-time and full-time employees. Another system is an enterprise resource planning, or an ERP. They're like project management systems where maybe you need to, I mean, certainly builders and things would need these sort of systems where they can work in what materials they need and how much has been used and whether the project's on track and so on. They're really, really important for some industries, and we certainly use an online project management system to manage the building of websites and things like that, because those projects are really like a house. There's lots of phases and lots of different personnel involved. Now, you can think about technology and you can say, well, it's expensive and it's scary and I don't get it and I don't like it, but you need to actually think of it the other way around and the cost for not investing. How far behind will this leave you? How unsecure will it be? I mean, all of us probably knew people in the Queensland floods and the cyclones earlier this year that lost data because maybe they didn't have it online. They weren't using these technologies. Maybe they were a paper-based business. You need to have disaster recovery, data recovery, and good hardware software, and connectivity too. You know, the NBN, or the National Broadband Network, is being rolled out now. I'm going to Townsville later this month to talk to a group of business owners up there about what is happening in the world of the NBN and what opportunities that presents to business owners. So look at technology, and if you don't know what you need or how to go about it, ask a professional again. Now, you should always, as a business owner who's wanting to strengthen their business, also be considering what the value of your business is. Now, on the last time I delivered this particular webinar topic, I said that I'd recently caught up with a business broker. And that's something any of you can do. It's free. It's no obligation. You don't have to literally be ready to sell your business. It can be quite good to get a bit of a handle on what they think your business is worth and how you can make it worth more. Now, these sort of things can really guide your decisions. So if you've got a new opportunity to sell something, do something different, looking at, will this increase the value of my business, and maybe that's what guides it. The value of a business is based on the list there: profit margin, stability of the business, competitive advantage, how reliant the business is on the current owner. That's a good point. So if you get systems in place, you may not have to be the main person doing everything, like I've explained. My staff, any of them, can raise an estimate. But it's also based on the size of your database and how active that is. And it's also based on your brand, how high profile, whether it's trademarked and things like that. And there's other items. But there's a lot to work on there. And again, there's some good strategies inside the workbook that perhaps you could look at. So how about you guys? Have any of you looked at strategies or ways that you can make your business more valuable? And are you taking steps in that area? A few of you have got your hand up. Anyone want to text me some examples of what they're doing to increase the value of their business? Okay, nothing coming. We'll see how we go. We'll keep pushing on. Want to make sure there's time for questions. Okay, Yolanda said offering loaning alternatives. Kerry said her website has been improved and can access through Google. That's a pretty important one too. That where your website ranks, I reckon, definitely improves the value of your business. Someone was going to buy it, and you could say that ranks really well for a really competitive search term that's really directly related to your business, then that's great. Okay, forecasts. This is a good time to look ahead for next year and consider what's your company worth now, how can we afford to fund the growth, should we purchase new premises, other businesses, it is not a bad time for mergers and acquisitions, should we try a new venture, and things like that. So forecasting, there's lots of different ways that you can try and grow your business. Other people, environmental sustainability, Nicole McMillan has said, thank you. Don't quite understand in what context. I guess that would add value to your business, as perhaps that's what you're sharing with us. And this is actually our final slide on this lot. You also need to look at risks. Now, back in September, I had the fortune of going and hanging out with 90 of Australia's leading businesswomen at a Commonwealth Bank 3-day conference. And the CEO of the bank stood up and he talked about what he thought we should all be focusing on. And one he said is that you've got to decide what it is that really matters to you personally and your business, because that is like your passion, that's your fire, that's your engine that's driving your business. And two is to assess your risks, because quite frankly there are risks around, some of which haven't been as high as they have been in the past. So particularly financial risks, you know, if foreign exchanges continue to change, because I mean the American dollar's done a lot of different stuff in the past 12 months, how will that affect your business? If interest rates have been going down, if they can continue to go down, how will that affect your business? Liquidity risk, how much money have you got or not got in terms of cash available ready to go? How much credit risk have you got? Are you paying too much? What if the bank wants that back? How can you mitigate some of these risks right now? And how strongly are they likely to affect your business? So going through some risk scenarios, again, there's some good workbook things in your workbook. There's some good exercises. It's a really good idea to look at those risks, because that going through that will strengthen your business again. It will make you less liable to be like this guy on a tightrope and you know, just need a little nudge to fall off. So look, everybody, that's the basis of my chat today. I hope I've given you a lot of different stuff to think about. There's a fair bit in that. And right now, some of you have got your hands up. Maybe you've been busting to ask a question for a while. If you haven't, it's just left up from before. You can put your hand down now. If you do have a question, I'd love to get a little bit of question and answer going on now. Fire anything away and I'll do my best to help you out. We do have some important announcements, so I'd love it if you could stay after this period too. Okay, Genevieve, I was wondering if I can talk to you about your services and what you could do for me. My business is still planning, but I'll have it up and running in the next few months. I'd like to factor in your services to my business plan. Like to have a quick discussion and not too much time. What's the best way to contact us? Probably just go to our website, Genevieve. Thank you, I'm flattered, which is blackcreativecollective.com.au, and contact us on any of the forms provided on the contact page. We'd love to hear from you. Yolanda said, thank you. I've taken a lot. Look forward to acting upon it. Well, thank you, Yolanda, for sharing. All right, the rest of you, I'm going to try and do some unmarking. Everybody start to ask questions and maybe wanting to hop off. We haven't finished, so we'll get to the tie-up stuff soon. Let's see if there's some questions. Tony, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you've just got your hand up, so I thought you might have. Have you got it out of today?
Oh.
There you go. Have you enjoyed today's session?
Yes, I have. I've heard some of it before, and it's good to be reminded of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with a refresher, is there?
Yep.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for getting on. Sian has got her hand up, or he. Sian, are you there? Sian Delaney? Maybe no microphone there either. Not having much luck today. What about Jody? We tried you earlier, I believe. Jody, did you have a question? I can hear.
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Oh, okay. No worries. I'll mute you as well. Alana's hand's just gone up. Alana, how can I help you?
Oh, hi, Yvette. One of the problems we have in a small business is finding the time to do all these things. How do you do that?
Good question. Careful time management. Look, we've all got 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We obviously don't want to work all that. A really good exercise is to print out a 24/7 calendar, block out the 8 hours sleep you need, block out the eating periods you need to have, block out the time with your family or children you need to have, your fitness and whatever else you need to do to just be a happy person on this planet.
Right.
And then you'll be left with working hours, okay? Now from there, I don't know about you, some people work 40 hours, some don't. I work about 30. I break that down into what aspects of the business I'm going to cover. So I will leave myself open for what I call projects, which is just kind of whatever comes my way in terms of business.
Yeah.
I also then block out some HR time, some IT time, some finance time, and so on, marketing time. So I make sure that at least each week I'm looking at each aspect of my business.
Yeah, okay, that sounds great.
No problem.
Just got to be, make sure you go and do that.
You do need to make sure you do that. You need to be really disciplined. You know, if you really like marketing, say, you can't just be doing marketing all the time because you like it, because what your finances could be falling down, or your IT systems, and you can't do the marketing, etc. So you need to get a balance, and you also need to realise that, okay, well, I want to go to my kids' swimming sports, let's say, but that means I'm going to have to not do that marketing morning that I usually do on Thursday mornings. Therefore, I will have to move that marketing phase into maybe Sunday afternoon, because I've still got to do it, say. So I don't encourage you to work on the weekend, but I want you to understand that that's how you get that lifestyle flexibility and balance. Now, a few people are running away. I might just skip ahead and we can always do more questions after. I want you to know there's a few more webinars coming up. 6th of December is the last one for the year, but there's still 5 more to go. Some really good topics coming up on digital business strategies, which a lot of business owners I know are really keen to get their hands on that information. And to be honest, I absolutely love talking about those topics too. So I hope you can join me for those. 30th of November in particular, business continuity planning. That's not a digital business topic, but it's a very important one. We're now in storm and cyclone season in Queensland, and we all know what happened last time around. Now we can all think we learnt ourselves what we may need to do, but look, if you can spare an hour of a lunchtime on the 30th of November, same time, 12:30 p.m, we might be able to give you just 2 tips, and they could save you a heap of time, effort, stress, and heartache. So love you to get on. To register for all of them, go to business.qld.gov.au and register. Now, the business.qld.gov.au website is Dee Dee's website. It's really big. There's so much on there. So go to the search function, and whatever it is in business you're looking for, whether it's a business plan template or a checklist or a risk management strategy, everything weird and wonderful and helpful is on there. I'm telling you, there's so much you wouldn't believe it. If you're still stuck, you can always ring their business hotline anytime. That's the number there, 132523, and I'm pretty sure you'll find that pretty useful. Now, I'm also going to send you a link, which actually I'm going to just open it up for questions, and then you're all going to get a link via the text chat area. So let me just grab that and send it on through. I'm sorry, I haven't got it ready this time round, so you'll have to bear with me. Okay, but I'm still here, so any more questions? You want to raise your hands, guys, if you have got a question? Or any more comments, feel free to text chat me. Okay, Paul's asking, if you primarily only have low value and high risk customers, how do you best convert them to customers of higher value? Good point. We do a webinar on retaining your profitable customers, Paul. You'd probably find that quite a good topic. Perhaps you could take a look at the past recording on that topic and get some strategies on batch, would be my suggestion. Any other questions? Genevieve has asked, one quick question. The business I am planning is a unique one and I cannot find a competitor offering my product. How do you anticipate where you may need to change your strategy for competitors entering the market? Well, Genevieve, if you haven't got any competitors, that's really good. You need to, though, work out the demand, because maybe there's no competitors for a reason. But presuming all was well, you just need to keep a careful eye on your competitors. There's a number of strategies you can use to do that. A really simple free one is Google Alerts. So you can go to google.com/alerts, and you can set up key phrases related to the industry. So I don't know what you're selling, but let's say you're in a certain industry. That Google will then alert you every time something gets indexed on the Google search engine about that word. So if there's a new competitor enter the market and they're in that field, you would get notified. If you do have known competitors, you can also do Google Alerts for them. and see when they're popping up on Google and what they're doing. I also like subscribing to my competitors' databases, mystery shopping them on the phone, signing up on their website and seeing what sort of journey I go on, even actually, you know, paying for their products and things sometimes. Kerry has commented, the link has not come through yet. I know, I've got Jag working on that for us as we speak. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit delayed in coming through. If you guys need to skip off, I'll actually email it out to you, but I would really like you, it's part of our contract with Dee to just answer a few quick questions to tell us what you thought about today and how we might be able to make it better. Okay, now I did say as well I'd let you know how to get the workbook. The workbook's actually listed on a site called smallbusinesswebinars.com.au, and I would love you to go online and download that workbook because that's how you'll get the most out of today's presentation. All right, here is the final survey. It's coming out now, and if you could take a moment to fill that in before you skip off, I'd be much appreciative. Thanks so much for getting on, guys, and I look forward to welcoming you to another webinar in the very near future.